See, last class, clear idea, audio, okay. See, last class we started with Causticum, alla? See, this is where we had stopped. Yeah, it's better now. See, last class, Causticum, this is where we had stopped. Voilà. So, we were trying to understand Causticum mind, especially at the level of emotions, at the level of will, and at the level of intellect. See, going back to Dr. Kent's way of analyzing, okay, if you remember, Dr. Kent was the one who gave a lot of importance to will, intellect, and emotions, fine. And then as things advanced, we also brought in morals, and memory was clubbed with intellect, okay. So to just keep you in touch with what we did, the will part is what we spoke in the last class. And if you recall the will of Causticum, we saw that there was too many things related with strong will, meaning they were very obstinate, they were stubborn, and then there were a lot of other issues. Can somebody quickly recall what did we discuss in the last class pertaining to the will part? Strong will, yeah, they are very defined. They can go to the extent of anarchist, fanatism, fine, and very positive constitution, okay, very defined, okay, and very positive constitution, and people who can't tolerate injustice. See, and if you just look back, the idealism, all these things will be because of that strong sense of justice. Fine, they can't see anything, injustice happening. Fine, and I also try to compare Mercury. There are few new students who have joined in. Merc is again a remedy who will not like injustice. But what was the basic difference we understood between Merc and Causticum is, Merc is more when it happens for himself. Very good. Merc is more a selfish person. Though both are timid. Causticum timidu, Merc timidu. Merc will discuss in detail in the next session. But Merc is again a person who can be revolting and who cannot tolerate all these things. But Merc is specifically when it is more to himself. Okay. So we have understood the emotions, we have understood the will. Now we will look at another very important part. Now this is the intellect part. Okay. Now before I tell you what symptoms you have in Causticum related to the intellect, we will try to understand what exactly we understand by intellect, what could be the probable classification of intellect, so that as a PG students you understand things much better. And in the end I will also try to tell you why understanding a remedy so deep and at different levels is very important for us. Okay. So now simple, what do you understand by intellect? Intellect, what do you understand? Okay, one important component of intellect is memory. Good. It can also be comprehension. So memory, comprehension, what else? Say, I am not asking you what comes under intellect. Fine. The first question is what is intellect? How do you define intellect? Then we will look at the components of intellect. Okay, first question, what is intellect? From your simple English, from your understanding, what is intellect? Ability, capacity to understand and to execute. Okay, fine. Okay. See, now I have taken this from a simple book which says intellect is referred to the rational and logical side of the human a simple definition of intellect. It is the ability to think and understand. Somebody from the class, they have already given us this. It is the ability to think and to understand. Somebody used the word comprehend. Comprehend meaning to understand. And the faculty of reasoning and understanding is intellect. See, to make this more practical, we had a case yesterday of a lady aged around 52 or 54. She presented, or she came to us for varicose veins. She also has hemorrhoids. Okay. Now, one peculiarity of this particular lady is, whenever you ask a question, she takes some time to answer. Fine. She stops, she gives a big pause, and we are eagerly waiting. She'll answer, but then she'll not. She says, I don't know. In Kannada, nange henge helodu gottagta illa. I don't know what to tell and how to tell. Fine. So, if you just look at the intellect of this particular lady, what is the intellect from the simple case narration I have given? Is she a lady of great intellect or a lady of poor intellect? And anytime when we used to question, she used to keep looking at her husband. Fine? Okay? See, when a lady looks at her husband, it could be because of different reasons. When she is not understanding the question, she might be looking at her husband. Or she might indirectly give you a clue that all the problems are because of this particular man. Fine? I mean, you will have to be intellect enough to understand what is the clue the lady is giving. Fine? So people look at the husband. It could be out of helplessness. It could be he is very dominating. She might need his approval to answer the question. Not that she is not intelligent, but he is dominating. So what exactly is in the lady's mind is what you need to understand. But in yesterday's case, in spite of requesting the husband to stay out, she had a lot of issues in understanding the question and in answering back the question asked. Right? She says there is something, but she is not able to put it in a right way. So intellect becomes very important. Fine? So we will also try to understand what comes under intellect. As a PG student, as a PG scholar, from your repertory knowledge, what all comes under intellect? What are all the components of intellect? What all comes under intellect? When you analyze, when you take the case, when you analyze, when you divide will, intellect, emotions and morals, what comes under intellect? So it could be the way you understand, fine? The way you comprehend. Good. One is understanding. Okay. Good, very good. Dr. Venkatradri has a point. Memory. How good your memory is. I'll be narrating a few things here. We'll just understand. See your judgment. Your judgment. How good you are in deciding things. Okay. Your judgment, your memory, your understanding, your thinking, your reasoning, your learning, how quick you are in learning and how well you comprehend. Okay. Your understanding, your creativity, how good you are in creating things and how do you analyze things. How good is your decision making? Okay. In a given situation, how good is your decision making also tells us if your intellect is a good intellect or if your intellect is a poor intellect. Related to this, the decision making rubrics, we have, can you come out with some decision making rubrics? We have remedies, we have rubrics like irresolute, we have rubrics like indiscretion, fine, which are poor intellect, fine, firm, fine, you don't determined, they all come under good intellect. Okay. So every thing that I am trying to tell you here has some meaning. How good you are in imagining things. Now what is this imagination? rubrics related to imagination? Fancies. We'll discuss that. And how good you are in calculations. Mathematics aptitude for. Calculations, you're good in calculations or you make mistakes in calculations. See, these are all the things, these are all the components which will tell how good our memory, how good our intellect is. Fine? Are you getting an idea? This is very important. And we'll slowly get into Causticum. But I thought, starting a new concept, you should understand what I am trying to do and what is the purpose of all this. Fine? And any teaching to be useful should have a purpose. Okay? And I personally feel all these things will help you understand a remedy better and apply that knowledge better in your practice tomorrow. Okay? So we'll talk of, when you look at intellect, there are two things. Like will, we had two things. Will, what did we have? We had a strong will, we had weak will. Similarly, when you look at intellect, we have good intellect and poor intellect. Okay, his intellect is good or his intellect is poor. Okay, so two things. Will can you contribute some rubrics for good intellect? It's a very simple question. Post-lunch session. Okay, can you contribute some rubrics related to good intellect? Comprehension easy. Okay. Comprehension easy. What do you understand by this? When a person is able to understand the concepts very easily. Okay. We have many times kids in our clinic. We have many times patients in our clinics. Fine. You just narrate them once and they pick it very fast. Okay. For many, we have to repeat the questions. Then they may not understand in a normal way, so we have to make it more simpler. Okay, so for them it is comprehension difficult. Now people who understand very easily, people who grasp things very easily, for them we have something called as comprehension easy. Class, once you do, sir, it's enough. I grasp well, I understand well, I remember well. So comprehension easy, good. Any other rubrics? Memory sharp. The rubric in your repertory is given as memory active. Okay, that will also come up. Good, memory active. Any other rubrics you can think of? Learning. That is under poor intellect. No problem. We are looking at good intellect. No issues. Creativity. Artistic. Art aptitude for. Artistic people. They come under good intellect. So we'll just look at the PPT and we'll understand better. Memory, active memory, right? And people are very quick to act. They're very quick constitutions, right? We have many drug remedies. We have ophidias. They're very quick. The thought process in them is very quick. Okay. And this is something we already finished. Comprehension easy. People who understand very fast. Comprehension easy, and this is people who are witty. What do you understand by witty? People, see, Elam is talking of intelligence. Good, that's what I wanted. It is not being funny. Fine. See, for you to be witty, you should have good amount of intelligence. And you should have good amount of presence of mind, and you should be spontaneous. When I am talking of all these things, that person should be definitely an intelligent person. See, witty is a person who can make you laugh. Fine? Okay? He is not foolish, or he is not a joker kind of a person. His content will have a lot of meaning. Okay? Done? So witty, being very spontaneous, and those jokes, they don't take it from mobile. I'm telling you a joke and not reading from the mobile. It's not that kind of a thing. It will be something that will come spontaneous. That is witty. Okay, so witty will come under good intellect. Again, we have beautiful remedies, mainly Ophidius, right? And people who have uh, the learning ability, they learn very easily. Okay, so and people who got good maths aptitude. I'm just giving you few examples. The list can be big. You can add more. I'm just giving a small idea. What comes under good intellect? Okay. So moving ahead, creative people. You know, creative people should definitely have good intellect. Okay, and people who are artistic. Not all of us can paint. We can paint, but it will not be worth seeing. Fine. So people who have got a lot of ideas abundant, people who are great planners, okay, they all come under good intellect. People with an ability to theorize, okay, theorizing is again to develop a set of ideas about something. See, what you theorize tells if it is a poor intellect or a good intellect. You theorize something very foolish, that will come under bad intellect. Sorry, I mean poor intellect. Okay, but to theorize, your mind should work. To bring in some ideas, your mind should work. Fine. So that will come under good intellect and imagination. The faculty of imagination is what we call it as fancies. People imagine. Now, what do they imagine? Fine. What do they imagine will also tell us about something. See, now you need to understand, theorizing, fancies, ideas abundant, they are all, they come in a different hierarchy. But you should know, in case taking they are very important. What do you fancy? You fancy something silly, you fancy something foolish. Yeah, it's a different thing. But you fancy something like, I'm like this, I'm like that. Okay? So for that, your intellect is very, very important. Okay? See, these rubrics, if we talk individually, we often use them in our clinics, but today we are focusing on Causticum. But I just wanted to give you a small gist, so that when you study another remedy in future, you'll know what all can be included under good intellect. Okay? Yeah, we have a rubric called as intellectual. There are rubrics called as intellectual. Some 30 plus remedies are there. Okay. So a person who has a good ability to think, understand, learn quickly, and who has a sound judgment. If you see all these words, understand, learn, judgment, think, they all come under intellect. The rubrics intellect. Okay. So intelligent, or you also have curiosity. You also have curiosity. Being inquisitive, wanting to know more, a dil mange more, you want to know what it is, why it is happening, right? We have a lot of kids coming to our clinic, they got a lot of valid questions. See, what question you are asking is also very important. A Barata might still ask, but his question will be very, very foolish, fine? Okay? A question that sulfur asks, or to a homeopathic doctor, or a question a Hayos has, a question a Calcarea asks, okay, a question an Ophidia asks, they will be very, very different. And you should know what curiosity is. See, what is curiosity? Curiosity or inquisitiveness, that eagerness to know. Fine? You have that doubt, what it is, why it is so. Kids come to our clinic and they keep questioning so many things. Uncle, what is this? What is that? They are not doing for show. Okay, so that you feel great. Oh, the mother says, see my son, how intelligent he is. It is not that. It is something that is inbuilt. It keeps coming from within. Phosphorus, cannabis, fine, sulfur, calcarea, a lot of remedies. There's a small YouTube lecture on good intellect. If you just type, you'll get it. I've dealt with the same topic in detail, so I'll not go much. because there individually I have explained each remedy why they are inquisitive. Okay, so probably when time permits, you can have a look at that small video that will tell you more about the good intellect. See, when you are looking at poor intellect, now before I take up poor intellect, is good intellect clear? We defined what intellect is, and we try to classify, or we looked at the different components of intellect, second objective. And third thing what we did is, we classified intellect. How did we classify? We classified them into good and poor. Some rubrics which may come under good intellect is what I have just given you. Now what comes under poor intellect? Huh? Yeah, I mean it could be opposite of what we already spoke. Comprehension, difficult. There it was easy, here it is difficult. Good. Then huh? Memory, there it was active. We have many questions. Sir, I forget. Where I have kept, I forget. Okay. Fine, I would have kept something on the stove, I forget. Fine. So issues with memory. Good. Memory, forgetfulness, memory weakness, all those things you can put under poor intellect. Anything else? Huh? Okay, beautiful, good. Confusion. Yes, I am happy. Confusion. See, now I am happy that you are coming up with some bigger words. Now this is how you evolve as a homeopath. Many times we fail in our clinic because we give more importance to simple emotions. Okay? In our case taking, our case analysis will have more of emotions. Many times the will rubrics, the intellect rubrics or the moral rubrics, they will be missing. Only we are trying to match the remedy partially. We are looking only at anger, or we might look at fear max, and we try to fit in. Okay? So I am happy you are talking of higher intellect rubrics, like for example dullness is not a higher rubric, memory weakness, memory being weak, person being dull, and you tend to forget, forgetfulness, or concentration difficult, or you also have issues with understanding. Comprehension is understanding. Okay? Concentration, comprehension. Yeah, I forgot to mention confusion here. Confusion also will come up under intellect. Okay? So under poor intellect, I have named few. You can go back home and you can look at different rubrics. Okay. So one part that I have planned for today is the intellect part. Okay. Now we will look at the intellect of Causticum. So what are the rubrics? What do you have in your source books related to the intellect of Causticum? That is what we will be discussing next few minutes. Okay. So Causticum we saw emotionally, Causticum we saw at the level of will. Now we are looking at the intellect part of Causticum. Okay. Now when you look at the intellect part, any wild guess? What is Causticum intellect all about? Huh? Okay, I mean, yeah, see, we all have a very good opinion about Causticum. But if you look at the repertory, if you look at the source books, what I got here was, now what is this child doing? I don't know if you have observed, or you might see this scenario coming up in your clinic in future. Now what is that scenario? Yeah, child is? Okay, good. Child is taught to tell something, done. More than that, when you question, the child or the patient first repeats the question and then they will answer. I don't know if you have come across. I was lucky, in few I have got this. So when you question them, first they repeat that question. They are not repeating that question for yourself. They are repeating that question to themselves and they are trying to understand. what is the question that this man is asking, that they put it first and then they try to answer. Okay? Are you getting this picture? Fine. Which is the only remedy that comes to our mind? We have read it in our Material Medica. Beautiful, Dr. Shweta. Zincum met. If you recall, yeah, I use the word recall and we are talking of intellect. If you could recall the drug picture of zincum, okay, Ken, Boric or any book that you have read, any good book you have read, there it is told, child repeats the question first and then he answers. Zincum is the only remedy we know from our material. Now, if you look into the repertory, which I always tell you is a beauty, repertory will give you a wider range. Okay. Now we look at the other remedies who question, they repeat the question first and then the answer. Now my question to you is, why do they repeat the question and then the answer? Okay, very good. They take time to think. So there is some amount of dullness. It could be because of dullness or it could be because of comprehension. They are not able to understand. Okay. So repeat the question first and then answers. This is the statement. This is the rubric. See, this will be your observation. Now yesterday's case of that lady, my assistant had taken, and she was very clear with her observation. I appreciate that girl who had taken the case. She was very clear because it was so evident in the case that whenever you are asking a question, the lady will go into a state of pause. She'll pause. I am also waiting 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I thought, okay, must be, it's an emotional question. She might take some time to answer. She will answer. 3 minutes, there is no answer coming up. Fine. And then I ask again the same thing. And she says, I don't know, I am not able to, answer. I am not able to tell. Not that she has not understood the question. She has understood the question, but she is not able to answer. Fine? Okay? There you have more of dullness. There you have more of poor intellect. Okay? So this is more of an observation. The child repeats the question first and then she is answering. It is a rubric. Don't miss it. Now where do you look in your repertory for this? Where do you look in your repertory? Which chapter? Chapter is very simple. Chapter is mind. Good. So under the chapter mind, you have a rubric called as answering. Under that answering, you have repeats the question first and then answers. Okay, this is where you have to look for. See, now it is easy. You just type. You will get it. But we are from that pre-software era where we used to depend on the books. So then we didn't have anything like this typing, keyword you type, you get the entire thing. Now they have made it very easy. Okay? But there we had, we had to look under different things. Right? So here it could be because of dullness or it could be because of difficult concentration may be difficult, or they are having issues with comprehension. They are having issues with understanding. Okay. Now quickly, which are the other remedies? Dr. Shweta has already given us zincum. That's the number one remedy. We have some 6-7 remedies in your repertory. Don't look into your phones and answer. Unfortunately, Barrett is not there. The case that I narrated to you, what remedy comes to your mind? Barretta. But unfortunately, in our totality, Barretta was not there. Okay, alumina also has slowness, but it's not here in this context. Helleborus, very good. One remedy is Helleborus. Okay, and I don't know, in the same lecture, I have not used Helleborus much in my practice. In the same lecture, I had shared a case of a man, I'm not very sure. He keeps, no, that's one more thing, and concentration difficult, whenever we ask him, he keeps rubbing something like this. One of my assistant had observed this. Sir, whenever you are asking, he keeps doing this. She in her mobile, she came out with a rubric. Concentration difficult, rubs his forehead, something like that. And the remedy is Heliborus. Single remedy. That's the first case I used Heliborus. Credit goes to my junior, my assistant doctor. And after Heliborus, he beautifully improves. Forget about this part. You know, he gets good marks in his second PUC. Concentration improved. And when I went back and read Heliborus, lot of things were matching. And only thing I knew about Heliborus was the head pathology. And one more thing I knew about Heliborus was aversion vegetables. So the moment we saw Heliborus, the next question, what I know, I asked him. And what did I ask him? Do you like vegetables? And no, no sir, my son does not eat vegetables. I did not ask anything more because I did not know anything more about Heliborus. And we gave him Heliborus. Two things, that concentration difficult and strong aversion to vegetables. It worked beautifully. Fine. So having good assistant doctors also will be a boon. Okay. So we'll get back. Now few remedies I wanted to share which I have taken from the repertory. Medorinum, zincum, ambragracia, Heliborus, calibrome and sulfur. These are some 6 remedies which repeat the question first and then the answer. And Heliborus is one remedy which is emotionally, mentally very dull. Okay. Though there is lot of encephalitis, you get a belladonna kind of a picture. Mentally bell is very quick, but mentally Heliborus is very dull, very idiotic. Okay. I hope this slide is clear. Okay. Now, few more things in Causticum, nothing much, but whatever is there from the source books and the repertory. One more very important thing you have here is they have issues with memory. Okay. And one remedy we all know from our Allen's keynote or any material books that you have read, they purchase, fine, and they forget and they go off. You are getting the situation? They purchase the things, they forget and then they go away. So what remedies come to your mind? Huh? Barataka, very good. Yes, it's there. I have nothing. Medorinum, laccan, good. Laccan is also there. Yes, anacardium, good. I'm happy. See, one more remedy is nux moscata, if you remember. Okay. Anacardium, laccan, okay. And of course, you also have okay. I mean, must have not mentioned it. Anacardium is there. Laccan is the top remedy. Fine. Anacardium, laccan, and medorinum. What is that speciality in medorinum related to memory? Okay. See, memory. They lose the thread of conversation. Many times I do this, no? Meaning, where was I? Or many times people might tell. They will be talking and they tell, what was I telling? That is losing the thread of conversation. But Medorinum has something very peculiar. They forget their own name. They forget their own name. Ilam, you had something else to contribute. Could be. I mean, yeah. My memory is not that great. But Medorinum, to the extent they forget their own name. Fine? Medorinum. Now, Causticum also has lot of issues when it comes to writing. Many times in our clinic, we get this common scenario where parents come with the complaint, my son is writing B like D, he is writing 6 like 9, P like something else. If you remember seeing Tare Zamin Par, yeah, so it is a symptom of dyslexia. Okay, fine. Now my question is, if you have a patient, if you have a person coming to you like this, like 9 is writing like 6, fine. B is, when I say B, he writes D. How do you look for this rubric in your repertoire? Minus Padmashri. Padmashri knows this, so we'll ask her last. Now, how do you look? Is the question clear? What is the question? Yeah, when somebody comes to you and they, write. Huh? Mind?
Mind confusion.
Okay. Mind confusion, B and D. Huh? Very good. Somebody is talking about mistake. I mean, see, it's an open class and it's a learning. Fine. So Dr. Sunil contributes confusion. Good. It could be. Now Dr. Krishnadath is coming up with mistakes. Beautiful. You said something. Okay, mind, if it is there. Under that, if writing is there. Very good. Once somebody else comes with something else. So we have a combination of this. So what is the right thing? Fine. Because Padmashri would have seen me using in clinic. So, or I don't know if she's aware. But what is very important for you is the first rubric there. Yeah, chapter is mind. Absolutely right. You will not get it under hand because because he is writing. We can't use the word finger. Fine. Finger mistakes makes BD. You don't have that. It's mainly seen in the chapter mind. Under mind. The next will be mistakes. Second. You go step by step. And what is the mistake he is doing? Writing. So that will be the third sub-rubric. Now the difficult part is under writing mistakes, under writing you don't have BD, that you don't have. So there is something called as transposing. Okay. Now for that you need to understand what transposing is. You will have to look at the meaning of the word transposing. See, transposing means an error. Right? There's a big English meaning given in your dictionary, but it's an error. For something you write something else. Now what is that? For something is writing something else. For B is writing D. Or for 6, these are the common things which comes up. For P, he writes Q. Common things we see in clinic. So the rubric is transposing. Beautiful rubric. I have used in my clinic. Fine. And it has done wonders. I have a good experience with lycopodium. And the other remedies we have here is germanium met. Germanium met. Remedy, I have not used it very often. Okay, must be 1 or 2 cases I have used. But it is a remedy that you need to explore as a PG student. Germanium met. Stramonium. I have used stramonium in this situation. A girl with adenites, all symptoms of stramonium, and she had this transposing. It did wonders. Fine. So stramonium, China, Cinchona. Okay. Cinchona is also a remedy. And if I am right, you also have tuberculinum and podophyllum. I have got no experience with podophyllum and transposing, but podophyllum is also mentioned in your synthesis repertoire. But complete, it's mainly lyco and germanium. Okay. So lyco, germanium, stramonium, tube, podo. So I have also given you this small image. Okay. So that you don't miss this in your clinics tomorrow. So children who are going more towards dyslexia. Okay. Fine. So transposing is the rubric. When they make mistakes with writing, continuing with Causticum, the mistakes in Causticum will not stop here at writing. The mistakes can also be in talking. The mistakes can also be in talking. Okay. Mistakes makes in speech. So we'll just quickly have a look at what mistakes they make while talking. Mistakes makes talking while. So what are those things you have here? See now, very important is mispronounces words. So I was going through Vijaykrishna's book on Causticum. Okay, in his Materia Medica, he has shared, like for example, powder ka dabba. You know, powder ka dabba. The person here, what he says is powder ka butter. The dabba, no, that B would have come here and that those D's would have gone in the end. So that pronunciation, okay, fine. That mispronunciation of words, you have causticum, or in writing, or while speaking, they may misplace words. For some word, they would have put some other word, misplacing words. They could do that, or they might use wrong words, using some wrong word, okay, or they might reverse the word. In that book again, sir, what he gives is, for God, he would have written dodge, D-O-G, dog, dog. G-O-D, he would have put it in ulta, he would have written, for God they would have written dog. Not that they hate God, but it is because of the intellect getting affected. Not that they are atheist, fine. It is, the issues with the intellect, okay. So what you need to understand in Causticum is they have issues with writing, they have issues with speech, talking, wherein they use wrong words, they misplace words, or they mispronounce words, fine. And there can also be confusion. There can also be confusion. Now what are they confused about? See, confusion is a big rubric, and we in our clinics we use confusion for various cases. But what is it Causticum confused about? Okay, Causticum is confused. I mean, this is only to confuse you. I have got this. They are not confused with roots. Fine. They are confused. Or confusion in Causticum comes when they are mentally exerted. When there is too much of mental exertion, they go into a state of confusion. Okay? Or confusion is more while sitting. Confusion in Causticum is more while sitting. And what is the confusion for? The confusion is mainly for time and space. Okay? See, these are all very, very important things. Repertoire is a beautiful treasure. It's got so many things. And we should know what treasure we have with us. That way, organon, materia medica, homeopathy itself is a big, big treasure, beautiful treasure. But we should know. Fine. Only if we know that we have treasure, it will be easy, no? All the rubrics are there. There are a lot of sub-rubrics. Many of which we don't know how to interpret and how to apply. That is our drawback. But once you understand repertoire, fine. Once you understand rubrics, the same way they are narrating patients, you should have that skill of converting their language into our repertorial rubrics, and you can do wonders. So I feel transposing is a beautiful thing, you studied today, and we get a lot of cases. People are going into borderline dyslexia, they're just, a right homeopathic remedy can revert them back, and it is possible. Okay, so related to intellect, surprisingly what you see in Causticum is you don't have any rubric mentioned under good intellect. You have more of poor intellect in Causticum. Okay, so any questions here? So we try to understand intellect, components, types, probable rubrics related to intellect in general, and we focused on the intellect of Causticum. Okay. So next class, whenever we are meeting, I'll try to talk on, there are few more things. Must be another 5-6 rubrics of Causticum. If you want, we have time. I have not prepared a PPT, but what you have in Causticum is, when you look at the sexuality of Causticum, if we finish Causticum today, we can focus on some other remedy. See, there are few things related to the sexuality of Causticum. Fine. And surprisingly again, what you have here is, we have Causticum mentioned under lascivious, okay, Causticum mentioned under amorous, fine, and Causticum also mentioned under adulterous, okay. Till date, one Causticum patient of mine, I have used the rubric adulterous, and no patient will come and tell openly that I am adulterous, fine. So getting the rubric is very, very difficult. Very few can be, open enough, frank enough in accepting. But we get it through different sources. Sometimes wife comes, sometimes some other friend comes. To some other channel we get. Luckily, I have used Causticum in only one patient of mine, who was an adulteress. And I got it through a different source. And it's not nice to share it on this platform. But how I got to know that he was adulterous was something, a different story. But one case of Causticum I had given, and he was, at least he presented to me as if he is a very big revolutionist. He will fight for, he can't bear injustice. I do this, I do that. That is the Causticum picture I had got. And I prescribed Causticum. And the patient who referred him, when they came back next time, they were trying to share some other details. And that's how, in the miasm. And again, if you read the source books, many books, they say sexual desire want of. Causticum is broadly given. Very much highlighted under sexual desire want of. But if you look at the mind, the rubric, okay, Causticum is there. Okay? Under some sexual rubrics of the mind, like I was telling, amative, amorous, and lascivious, of course, adulterous. Must be one day when we are free, we can only take up the sexual rubrics and we can discuss. Many times we shy away from discussing. But as a learning purpose, what is amative, what is amorous, what is live, what is lascivious, satirious, shameless, yeah, we got a lot of rubrics. Must be only the sexual rubrics. Whenever time permits, we can discuss. Okay. Because we will not know the meaning, so we don't ask, and we will have a lot of issues. Okay. So with this, at least we will try to officially complete Causticum. Because almost 6 hours, if I am right, 6 classes we have spent extensively on Causticum. But I personally feel it is worth it. And it's a method, it's a model which you can follow in teaching. Or as a PG scholar, you can understand different remedies based on this model. Okay. And we have not gone into the particulars from head to toe. If we start talking about Causticum, that will again take another 5-6 hours. Okay. But I have just summed it up under PQRS. I feel that should do for you. Next class, if everything goes fine, we'll start with Merck group. Again, a very important and interesting group, the Merck group. We'll try to dedicate few hours for Mercury also. It's a very important group. Right? Okay then, thank you.